Hello, this is Stephen and Jennifer with Iowa Backyard Farmer coming to talk with you about plants that we are not going to be planting in 2025.
Now, this is the maybe forced into early retirement crowd. We grew them and they didn't make the cut. Or we've had more experience and we tried them again and it didn't make the cut twice. And you're off the list at that point. So, where do you want to start?
So, things that maybe will be a little bit of a surprise. First one that we're not going to grow this year is Brad's Atomic Grape Tomato.
Yeah, this one we have carried for a lot of years, and it is a love it or hate it tomato. Some people are like, best thing ever. Other people are like, that tastes like rotten fruit. It has a very distinct flavor, and if you like it, you love it. We don't have enough people probably who love it to carry it longer.
Not very many people that buy it repeat buy it, so
it's kind of a novelty,
kind of unique
thing.
novelty that everybody wants to try once.
Yeah, say you tried it and it was lovely, but it's not one that fits really well with and I did something beautiful. It's kind of got a olivey, greeny, stripy color, and it doesn't make the most attractive salsa or other things, right? So it was kind of a novelty. We'll not do it again for a while, unless somebody really misses it and I still have seeds.
Yeah.
Is that how that works?
Yep. So one of our other really popular ones that we just couldn't find a home for this year is lipstick pepper.
Yeah. And again, it's a red pepper. It's got a beautiful red color. I've not had any production issues growing it.
But we've always tried to figure out where's its real home. I'm like, is it a sweet pepper?
It's not the
It's
sweetest.
not quite as sweet as the other ones. Is it a snacking pepper?
It's a little too big.
A little too big for that. Is it a paprika pepper? And it doesn't.
And it got blown away.
It got blown away by a lot of the other
trials.
paprikas. So it's like, well, it's a really nice pepper. I'm not quite sure where to put it or where to position it and how to use it.
We're taking a break from that one because we loved some of our other paprika peppers a lot more, and we've got a lot sweeter sweet peppers.
Yeah.
So nothing wrong with that one. We're just taking a break.
Just not sure what to do with it. Yeah. So that one's off the list.
Orange thyme goes off the list because it's a booger to grow.
You just can't grow it. It's one of those ones where you plant 24 pots and you're happy if you get 3 scraggly plants.
Once it gets going, it's fine, and everyone who's had one, I've sent out the door, it's fine, but you do not see the drama behind the scenes that was really not great production. It's hard to get it going. Once it's there, it's fabulous. Love it. It is not worth my anxiety to try and do that one.
Yeah.
And it's a little expensive, the seeds, to get a quantity. I can buy a lot and do a lot more with the other ones. So it's kind of fun. I love it. It smells nice. It's a little pain in the butt to grow.
Yeah. And next one up and this was my surprise somebody, it's our Lunchbox series of snacking peppers.
Yeah. Again, they've grown really well. I haven't had problems, but we did trials of other Lunchbox peppers this year. And I was surprised that I liked the flavor and size of some of our other ones a little bit better. What we've got now
what we got now is the Delight series, which are a little bit bigger. So we go from like 2-inch peppers to maybe 3-inch peppers, but at least as good, if not better, flavor.
And
better size, more consistent.
The red Lunchbox was always kind of just a little tiny little pepper, and the other ones were okay. This gives you a nice, consistent. All of them kind of go together in a bowl, which is what I wanted.
Yeah.
And so those are good. So we dropped the Lunchbox series.
Yep. Next one up is our H19 Little Leaf Cucumber. It's been an adorable little plant, but I don't know that adorable is what you're looking for in a cucumber.
If you needed a cucumber for a small space, I have recommended this. It was a little too small for us. The leaves are smaller than they are on a regular cucumber, and the marketing there is that then you can see the cucumbers better, which is a great thing. But next to my other cucumbers, it kind of always felt like it was struggling to keep up. And I'm sure that's not what it was doing. But in my mind, I was just like, oh, it's not as vigorous. It probably was fine.
Really good disease resistance.
There's
a lot that we really like about it. Who knows, maybe
it might come back.
Maybe it'll come back in the future.
It does have some attributes, but when I'm growing them together, I have liked other ones more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Rise and Shine Yellow Squash, this was one of your picks before.
Yeah, so this is one I absolutely like the description. I mean, we've had really good success growing it, but I know as we've followed the comments that others have put online, not everybody's had as good of success. And so
this was a yellow squash that you were supposed to be able to stake upward and have it grow upward, and it's going to be really productive. And that was a really good concept. What did we switch to?
I can't remember what it's called.
Smooth Criminal.
Smooth Criminal.
Smooth Criminal.
Yeah. So it's another one that should be able to grow up, but based on the reviews and comments that I'm hearing, this one's maybe going to be a little bit more consistent. Whereas Rise and Shine, you either loved it or hated it, and it was either very productive or not. And
so we're going for something
that hopefully is going to be a little bit more stable.
Yeah. Back to production issues, the drama behind the scenes that you never see because I don't like to show you my struggle. Our standard red Marconi pepper, and you can get the old varieties and you can get some newer varieties. We have carried for a long time Costa Rican Sweet, which is a nice red Marconi.
And that one works well. We're keeping that one.
And we're keeping that one. It's a great production thing. The regular standard red one, for years, I have had trouble getting it to germinate and to grow, and it's slow to start and it's not even to germinate, and it tastes good, but there's a lot of drama to get you there. So I'm not doing it anymore. I'm picking one of the newer varieties.
So sticking with some of the others.
Yeah, Carmen's a good one. Costa Rican Sweet's a good one. Some other varieties.
Next one that we're not going to grow this year is Flaming Flare Pepper. And so Flaming Flare is kind of unique because it's not one of the classes that we commonly have sold. It's
a Fresno pepper?
Yeah, Fresno pepper. So
I put it in it's like what a jalapeno would be red if it was still green jalapeno heat. It's a nice red, kind of hot little pepper. It's not really super hot.
In general, we've struggled to figure out how to use it.
It competes with my jalapeno group. And if you're going to have red tomatoes and some onions, I want a green pepper to make the colors look pretty. And so I'm like, if I have red peppers and red tomatoes, I don't know where to put you.
But it's thinner skin, doesn't have the most outstanding flavor. So it's just one of those odd.
The fruitiness of some of my others, and it doesn't have the spicy. Anyway,
so for those who can figure out how to use it,
tell me how you use it.
Maybe it would come back in, but we've struggled with that one.
Yeah, so it's having a break.
So next one, Thorburns Terracotta tomato. So this is one that comes highly recommended, but we kind of went, I don't know.
It grew fine. We got a bunch on it. It's kind of that brownish orangey terracotta color, and so you're like, is it ripe? Is it ripe? I don't know. And then
I think it went from not ripe to overripe in about 2 days.
Yeah, it didn't have tremendous shelf life. It was really hard to catch for us because the color is not obvious. We have a lot of tomatoes, and so I was like, too much drama.
Yeah, never could really get it at its ideal timing.
At its ideal timing. We've had several in that category. Like the Tasmanian chocolate one, I think, is also in that category of it's kind of got that brownish color, and you're like, I'm not sure it's ripe, and then you're like, well, wait, that was overripe.
Yeah, darn it.
Too much going on to pay that close of attention.
Yeah. Next one, trying to look at your list here, Delicious. So Delicious was like a world record holder at one point in time for the biggest tomatoes, and so
if that is your goal, it's still a good goal. If your goal is to have more than one tomato every week, that's not a good goal.
Well, I think our plants, even our most productive plants, we got 3 tomatoes off of.
Yeah.
And so maybe more than that, maybe 4. Yeah. But not a lot. If you're looking for high productivity, that one was just not it. So
not it. If you're looking for a huge prize-winning thing, you have potential. But I wanted more than a couple.
Yeah, so we were passing on that one this year.
And surprise on Caspian Pink, which I have loved, but I cannot get a consistent performance out of it. Some years it doesn't set fruit. Some years it totally melts down from disease. This year we got fruit off of it, and I didn't like the flavor.
As I say, for everybody who's campaigned that it was a better than Brandywine flavor, when we put it up head to head with Brandywine and several others, it
didn't hold it.
It was an okay flavor, but it was not a superior flavor in any way. And
so, again, being drama to grow.
So I'm gonna let the Caspian Pink go this year. Another tomato, Prairie Fire. So this was one of the early cream of the crop ones that we brought in and thought, hey, we'd really like it.
Super high brick, supposed to be super sweet, long bullet shaped,
It's
kind of fun.
Kind of a fun
little
one,
stripey.
as long as you didn't water it, because every time you watered it, it split.
Yeah, splitting is a problem. I like to bring it inside.
Yeah.
The flavor was good, the shape was good, the color was good. Splitting
not
takes
so
it off
good.
the list.
Yeah. So this last year, we brought in M.I. Gardner's Giant Crimson, which if you've followed him at all, he's talked about, this it was resurrected from like I can't remember, 1930s or 40s, some old seed packet, tried to get it to grow and was successful, and they reproduced it and were able to sell some seeds. And I felt very fortunate that we were able to try all those.
And I'm hoping it was a mistake on the seed packet because it wasn't good.
It was not very flavorful at all. The texture was not good. The wateriness was not good.
Some of those older tomatoes have a kind of, I don't know, mushy texture, and it's kind of seedy. Oh, I didn't write it down on my list. The Canner Whole one that we had, we bought from Seed Savers, it was like packed with seeds, and it kind of just fell apart, and it kind of had this like mushy texture.
It's a pretty looking tomato, but it was not very tasty.
Not delicious.
Didn't like that one at all.
Not delicious.
So we're passing on that one for this year. Yeah.
One that looked gorgeous, and I had high hopes for, because we trialed all those Brandywine lookalikes and try to be like derivatives of Brandywine.
Yeah.
Was Pink Delicious. And if you had like a prize for the most photogenic tomato, this would have won. But it kind of had a bigger core, and
the
flavor wasn't great.
Was not there. When we were comparing it against all these other big, beautiful red and pink tomatoes for flavor, we were really excited about how pretty it looked, and I thought this might be some outstanding thing.
Because it doesn't crack, and
flavor-wise, it just wasn't there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of other big red and pink tomatoes that grow just fine. Pink Delicious just didn't do it for us on the flavor side of things.
Yeah, it was okay. It looked beautiful, but I wanted something else. A couple more tomatoes. See, we grow a lot of tomatoes. And there are a lot of tomatoes to choose from.
Yeah.
A couple of the orange ones we really like Kellogg's Breakfast, Dr. Wychee.
Yep.
We've got some really good orange ones, but
we'll still grow those.
But Orange Slice, which I had previously liked, when I put it head to head with the other ones, it's productive, it's lovely, it's watery.
Yeah.
It did not have the depth or concentration of flavor that I wanted.
Yeah.
And one that we tried before that dropped is a Nebraska Wedding tomato.
Nebraska Wedding tomato. And it was another one we had a lot of hopes for, but it takes like 2 weeks longer to get your first tomato compared to some of the others, and
it didn't make up for it with outstanding, like I've waited my whole life for you flavor. Yeah. So those are a couple that are out. On my texture, we already talked about the Canner Whole and the Giant Crimson. Those were texture issues for me. Yellow pear, if any of you are still growing yellow pear, I implore you to stop. They are mealy. They're terrible. There's a whole bunch of better ones. I tried again Big Mama from our paste tomato group, because we did a paste tomato trial.
And we had retired that one a couple of years ago, and we should have kept it retired.
Well, I keep thinking it'll be better. Maybe I watered it wrong. Every time I do it, it's just a little bit mealy, which I understand if you put it in a sauce, you can get over that. I couldn't get over it, so it went off the list.
Yeah. In that same set of trials, we also brought in one called Shelby, which is supposed to be an amazing determinate, very disease tolerant, heat tolerant, really a good standout determinate paste tomato. And it was like the disease magnet of that plot.
So I think the problem with that one is that your location matters. If we had lived somewhere really hot, dry, and sunny, it would have been a perfect paste tomato. It produced really good, but it has a really thick leaf cover, and in our more humid, wet spring that we had, it couldn't dry off. It couldn't dry off, and so it ended up getting diseased, and it was one of the first of my paste tomatoes to come out. I think if it had stayed dry, it would have been a super producer, because it had potential to do that. But I wouldn't grow it somewhere where you're humid and wet.
Yeah, so that one's off our list for this year.
And Saucy Lady.
Saucy Lady's one we brought in a couple of years ago, and we've tried a couple of different years. Kind of the same, I guess, end result of just compared to everything else. It did not handle the disease pressure in our garden like a lot of the others did.
Yeah. So the ones like we're keeping, like the Zenzi and the Pisano, I like these because last man standing. It's October and I'm still picking a tomato off of you. If I had to pull you out in August because you looked terrible.
Yeah, because you died.
Because you died. You might not make it the cut. Saucy Lady was in that category.
Yeah.
One that's a surprise we've carried for probably 10 years and loved the flavor of, but we're retiring it this year.
It's Napa Grape. And that one is, since we've been selling plants, I think that was probably the first or second, I think it was the first grape tomato we ever brought in, and we've carried that for about 10 years. But we've got some better ones now. And when we really put it head to head, for all of its bragging rights on being the sweetest grape tomato, there's some others that are better.
Yeah, we found some better ones. And again, production drama behind the scenes. This is me talking to my tomato plants in the early spring and imploring Napa Grape not to be 3 feet tall. And I'm like, well, maybe I have the light set wrong, or maybe I'll do something. No, that thing just wants to have internodes that are this far apart.
Yeah.
It gets tall and leggy and it takes over.
It's probably one of our most susceptible when we're growing it indoors to start with to edema.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it's too humid in the house, it goes blah. If it's watered too much, it goes blah. And so it just...
Once it's outside, I've not had any problems with it.
Yeah.
But it gets if I've noticed you in production of like 100 different types of tomatoes and you stood out in the early weeks, it's not usually a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not. New Girl is the other one that's in that category. I have trouble with New Girl when I'm starting them, where I don't have trouble with some of the others. It's a fine tomato once you get it going, but it does not handle some of the stresses of starting seeds as easily as some of the others.
Yeah. So time to move on from those, huh?
Yep.
So another one that we brought in this last year in hopes to replace maybe Super Sweet 100 was Sweet Million. And
it didn't. Super Sweet 100 is still better.
It was the same plant structure, which is enormous, that we were trying to get something smaller, and the flavor wasn't any better.
Yeah, it didn't. It wasn't an improvement. It wasn't worse, but it didn't improve it.
Yeah.
So, so we're gonna try again. One that was a production super winner, and we got a ton off of it, was Midnight Snack, and we've carried that for a couple of years. It's got the high anthocyanins. It's supposed to be really good. It's supposed to have all these benefits, and it grew beautifully. It didn't have any disease, one of our last ones standing, so why are we retiring it?
Well, it's one of those ones that has an indigo type with a high anthocyanin. The flavor is not near as sweet as some of the others, and so what we found, at least as a plant seller, is people would buy it once but not again. And so as we look at some others that are kind of similar to that category, Rosella is another darker one that the flavor is about 17 times better.
Yeah.
And so there's just some other options that we thought we would move to for this year.
Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with that one, but flavor and repeat buyers cause that one to go retired.
Yeah. So thinking of the currants, those little tiny ones are kind of fun. They're a joy to see until
they're fun for the kids
take
to
over
pick.
your garden.
One of my kids, I will not remain nameless, every time they went out, they would pick me like handfuls of these currant tomatoes, and they'd stuff them in their pockets, and they'd be like, "Mom, do you want a tomato?" And they're like, "Here." And then they'd give me a few more, and it was like this never-ending tomato pocket of like currant tomatoes. I'm like, stop! What are you doing? They're not as easy to use. We kept some. We kept
So the Candyland Red we're going to keep because the plant structure on that one is a little bit smaller.
It's a little tidier.
So it's a really good flavored one.
It was the sweetest one.
But for the others, the flavors were not as good, and the plants wanted to take over the entire garden.
Yeah, they kind of go. So the spoon tomatoes, again, it's kind of a novelty. Gold Rush Currant, it's kind of a novelty that, yes, they're okay. But once my cherry tomatoes are in total production, they are not the one that I'm going to. We are going to bring in, I think, from that Gourmet Genetics line again, Sweet Aperitif is It's like dime size. It's little, but it's supposed to be really good. So we'll keep the Candyland red, and we'll bring in sweet aperitif, and hopefully we'll get some stuff in there.
Yeah.
And if you like spoon tomatoes, they're kind of fun. They're kind of a novelty. And if you want a never-ending pile of tomatoes, yeah, but they're not on our list this year.
Yeah. Another smaller one that we're going to pass on this year is Red Patio Choice. So that's been one that we've grown for several years and have been generally happy, but for whatever reason this last year, everything split on it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was a seed packet mix-up. The plant structure was what we're used to seeing, but when we trialed it next to about a dozen other
So we had it
others,
growing next
did
to
not.
the Husky Cherry. And the Husky Cherry I really like, and people really like that one because you've got that compact, indeterminate growth. So it keeps growing, but it's really condensed, and so it's not getting too tall. And Red Patio Choice is in that category, but comparing the two right next to each other, and you cannot hardly tell them apart until it started splitting. And then I was like, I've never had this problem with you before, but almost half of these tomatoes I have to discard because they're split, and the Husky Cherry is sitting there, same amount of rain, same amount of water, doing just fine. And so make an adjustment there.
Let that one go. Another one that's been around for a long time is Roma VF.
It is the Kleenex of the Roma world. That's what you're like, I want a Roma, right? And we're talking about Roma VF. And it's a little bit smaller. It produces just fine. I guess it's kind of an untidy little plant as far as structure goes. It's that semi-determinate.
Yeah, just as I say, it doesn't get too tall, but it gets awfully wide, and
there's others that are more consistent.
They're little 2 ounces. If you really want to do something with paste type of tomatoes, there's about 75 other varieties that are better.
Yeah,
so.
And so it was hard for us because I know people are like, oh, I want a Roma, and I'm like, oh.
The variety
you're
or
looking
the
for
category.
or the category. So we have dropped that one, and we're keeping the Roma category.
Yeah.
The paste tomatoes.
Yeah. So other things we're letting go. So I already mentioned yellow pear.
Yeah. Don't grow it.
Yeah, don't do that
It's
one
terrible.
again. We had sold this last year, the Tumbling Tom red and Tumbling Tom yellow in hanging baskets, and they did okay.
They did okay.
But we found some better ones.
Yeah, we found some better varieties. We had trialed like the Tumbler hybrid, which I think is the one before Tumbling Tom. And, people are working on this and trying to improve this. And so I think we're going with Lozano is one that's going to be really good in our baskets. And I can't remember what the other one. And another one. We'll cover that in our what is on the list this year.
Yeah. And the last thing that we're not going to be putting on our list this year is the lettuce leaf basil. We love the concept.
And it looked really pretty. Again, it was it fell to our Iowa humidity this spring, some combination of too wet and not drying out. And the leaves didn't look really pretty. It did not handle the water like a Genovese basil or something else. So I like the concept. We might try again and see what we can do to make that one work. But
for now, that's off the list.
It's not a fun growing experience yet, so I'm not going to recommend it. And the Persian basil on that same category, it's kind of fun. I love the variety of basils. It had a really leggy, untidy habit.
Yeah. And
we have others that don't bolt as fast and are a little more consistent.
Yeah, better options out there.
So
that's kind of our long list of what we are not going to be planting this year that we've had in past. Curious what things you've grown that you thought, maybe not this year. We'll pass on that one.
Yeah, it was good. Or no, it was terrible. It was terrible. Tell us your sad story in the comments below. I'd love to hear it.
Yep, very good. And if you like what you see, please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.